Welcome to Daxue Talks, a show powered by Daxue Consulting, a China-based strategic market research company founded in 2010.
Okay, so my name is Max Peiro. I'm obviously not Chinese. I'm from Barcelona, but I've been living 12 years in Shanghai, and I am the CEO of Rehab. At Rehab, basically, we are problem solvers. We work with large corporations here in China to help them identify business challenge and match them with proven startups that can solve these problems.
How is the retail situation in China? What are the challenges traditional retail brands are facing now?
Okay, I think that we see as a global trend that retail is changing very fast, right? I like to call it the retail revolution. Some other people would call it the retail apocalypse, right? I try to be optimistic, so I prefer to call it revolution. It's a global trend, definitely, but I just think that in China things tend to happen much faster, okay? I think overall, at macro level, I think that there are a few things that happen that trigger this revolution or this change. First, and I think this is quite obvious, there's been a power shift from brands to consumers, right? Nowadays, consumers have all the information available in one click away. They are fully digital, so right now they have all the power. On the other hand, the competition is fierce, right? Not only from traditional competitors, but also from obviously marketplaces, right? Like Tmall is the greatest example, JD, the growing influence of WeChat in everyday lives, competition from online brands that are extremely agile, flexible, and aggressive, competition from new business models, direct to consumer, live streaming. We see the example nowadays in China. So it's becoming much tougher for these brands to thrive and to survive in this fast-changing environment. At the end of the day, I think that the only way for these brands to survive in China is to have a very clear strategy for Chinese market and to empower the local teams for execution, right? As we say that China, or the trends or what is happening in China compared to the West, is diverging more and more. So localization in China in terms of decision maker, in terms of strategy and execution is super important. And let me give you a couple of examples on brands that I think that in my opinion are doing a great job on this, on localization and really empowering the China teams. One of them is Uniqlo. Right, I think that they've been for many years already really like empowering the team in China to make decisions locally, and they are one great example of a brand openly working with a lot of different startups with a focus on customer centricity, anything from data to customer experience. And I don't know if it's a result of that, but it's the top brand or one of the top fast fashion brands in China, right? And another example, I would say it's AB InBev, the beer company, the owner of Budweiser, Stella, but also local beers like Harbin. I think also like for many years they bet on China, on the importance of Chinese market. I believe that nowadays China is their largest market or the second largest market. I'm not sure about that. But also they've been really learning about China, understanding the needs and localizing. And I think that one very good example when it comes to innovation is that they set up an innovation team that it's able to work with the different business units, understand what are the different challenges that these business units face, and then find startups here locally that can empower them, right?
In China, lower-tier city consumers start to play a more important role. What should brands do to better reach them out?
I think that's a very good question. That's a very hot topic nowadays, right? And obviously in China, right now most of the growth is coming from lower tier cities. And we're not talking anymore about third, fourth tier cities. We're talking about fifth, sixth tier cities, right? And I think this is a huge challenge for international brands, right? It's a complete different world. When international brands or many foreigners like myself based in Shanghai think about China, we tend to think about Shanghai, Shenzhen, these extremely modern, dynamic cities, right? But I think lower tier cities are a totally, completely different world from that. And it's challenging. It's challenging to adapt to this situation and to this environment. I think that the good thing is that nowadays there are massive amounts of data, right? And brands can leverage this amount of data to understand what is the potential in these market segments, to understand who are their target customers there, and then being able to target them. And I think that a great starting point can be Taobao, right? Tmall, in this case, sorry. There is massive amounts of data available on Tmall about customers' behavior. They can use this to really understand and analyze further segments. They have WeChat also to collect data from users across different geographies in China, and then being able to unify and to deliver insight based on that, right? Only once they have a very clear picture of the consumers in these lower tier cities, they can pull together a proper strategy and then execute. I think another advantage of lower tier cities is obviously these brands have no exposure, they don't have a retail network there, and there is no brand awareness. But the good thing is that users in lower tier cities rely more and more on internet to know about fashion trends, to discover brands, right? So it's about these brands to fully leverage the digital channels available to start reaching out to these consumers and then build their brand and their value proposition from that.
Any questions? We will find an expert to answer them. Drop your questions in the comments or send us an email, dx@daxueconsulting.com.